it can be good and has proven to be good for workers and businesses.
Yeah.
That a healthy workforce will be more productive and beneficial for everyone, including financially for everyone, as it has been proven. And as other cities have shown, when an employee is respected, and I think a lot of people want to talk about respect in here, when an employee is respected, they give respect back. Despite evidence to the contrary, workers will abuse the law and take time off frivolously. Even though that hasn't happened in other cities, studies show the average worker takes much less time than that is allotted. Is somebody trying to say that workers in Philadelphia are less honest than other cities? Do we say yes, that we recognize that these are difficult times for businesses, and that we have offered, after many meetings with business groups and individuals, we've added 23 changes to this bill. Councilwoman Sanchez said it well at the end of the last hearing. Council has and will continue to work with the business community to reasonably address their needs. Or do we say no? No matter what we do to accommodate businesses, we will listen to those who dismiss all dialogue and offer amendments, and will offer amendments that make this bill meaningless. We haven't come this long to do that. Some of those opponents provide way more sick time than we asked for in this bill, like Comcast. And yet they use the argument that earned sick leave gives the wrong perception about the city to businesses and prospective businesses. So I must comment on this perception issue. First, as we said at the hearing, people don't perceive to be sick, they're sick. And if I'm someone, Mr. President, thinking about opening a business in this city, I don't believe sick leave would be my major concern, especially since it's worked elsewhere with little or no negative impact. What would concern me is what I saw and heard at the hearing we had last week. The Commerce Director of the city, the Chamber of Commerce, and other business leaders talking about how bad this city is. And that if they were in the suburbs, they would use this bill as a reason for business to move to the suburbs. They're the people supposed to be cheerleading for us, and they're talking about what's bad about this city. And in many cases, the business owners have testified bad-mouthed workers. I think the ultimate, you came in, Mr. President, asked a question about from a restaurant owner about why he thinks low-wage workers will more abuse sick leave than higher income people. And that gentleman said he knows his workers will call in sick to go to the Phillies game or call in with a hangover after getting drunk. A great business leader. Right? And they say, we're getting a bad perception. The supporters of this bill are getting a bad perception. I think they need to look in the mirror. Finally, do we say yes? To earn sick leave is simply the right thing to do. And in the end, that really should be the deciding factor. Or do we say no? That while it may be the right thing, it's not the right time. Which then I must ask this question. And I think a lot of city workers are asking the question about how long. Well, my question is, how many of the 180,000 workers in this city who do not get paid sick time will force themselves to work or not get paid before somebody decides the time is right? Well, I believe the obvious answer to this council and this city is an overwhelming yes. Yes, health is a paramount issue. Yes, earned sick leave is fair. Yes, business and workers can benefit. Yes, it can work here as it has in other cities. And yes, earned sick leave is the right thing to do. Mr. President, yes, as Dr. King so famously said, it is always the right time to do the right thing.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilman Noble.
And the leadership of Bill Greenlee and all the other council members, Councilman Jones, for their leadership in really trying to improve the city and help people. I will disagree, and I'm going to state why. more than anything needs jobs. Yes, good paying jobs. We need family sustaining jobs, but right now we just need jobs. A lot of people don't have jobs, and we are losing jobs, even low skilled jobs. Our population right now is challenged as our city is to grow. And if we look at the 350,000 manufacturing jobs that our city had in 1960 and look over the 30-year period that we lost 300,000 of those jobs. In 1970, our city had 766,000 jobs. By 2010, we had lost a lot of jobs and only had 542. According to eConsult and other economic forecasters, if we don't do something to turn around the city, including ensure that our workers are paid and we have great services in the city, we're going to lose 75,000 jobs by 2021. What I believe we have to do at this time, and timing is important, is to ensure that people choose Philadelphia to stay and start their businesses, to come to start their businesses. The issue is not that businesses are going to close over the sick day bill. The issue in my mind is that we are going to, over time, lose a certain number of businesses that fail or move out. We have to have more businesses that open and succeed than fail. If people decide not to make Philadelphia a place to start their businesses, we will lose jobs. The 75,000 jobs that we're going to lose, I am going to guess, are not for people with PhDs, master's degrees, and high skills. It's going to be for people who have low wages, who have low literacy, who have no prior job experience, and may have a criminal record. More than anything, I believe we need to create and establish good jobs for people in our neighborhoods. And so I will be voting no. Thank you very much.
Chair recognizes Councilman Wood.
Thank you, Mr. President. As many of you know, I'm a founding board member of Local Progress, the National Municipal Policy Network. Last spring, about a dozen city council members and allies, including those from SEOU and Ashley, from around the country met in D.C. to discuss progressive issues. Several months later, in November, several dozen of us, city council members and allies from across the country, convened a family conference to discuss economic justice issues like paid sick leave. In fact, I moderated that discussion. We then formed Local Progress. The chair of Local Progress is Nick Cotter, city councilman who's the primary sponsor of paid sick leave in Seattle. The program chair of Local Progress, Brad Lander, and co-sponsor of paid sick leave in New York, where majority city council members support it. One of our newest board members is John Olives, a city council member from San Francisco, where paid sick leave has been successfully implemented. Needless to say, the Local Progress Board supports paid sick leave. More importantly, Local Progress now boasts membership of over 200 local elected officials across the country and we continue to grow. But some want you to believe that paid sick leave is an issue limited to Philadelphia and a few other cities. They're wrong. Some want you to believe that we should wait for the state and for federal legislation to pass paid sick leave. They must be kidding. That's why we call our group Local Progress, because we know that too many state and federal officials around this country are the enemies of working class men and women. In many places, progressives are simply outnumbered. Here in Philadelphia, we should not be. So we fight our battles at every level of government as we start close to home, where we hope to build multiple local victories together. We start locally in places where elected representatives are supposed to understand working class values and working class issues. This is where we start to build national movements, locally. So today is when we allow other cities to see where Philadelphia stands in terms of working class people. It's time to stand tall, and it's not time to cut off short. Progressives from around the country are watching this vote. Don't talk the talk unless you're willing to walk the walk. You're working class people, but you're afraid to offend the business community. This vote counts for people who need it the most. Most importantly, they're watching you right now.
Chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Thank you, Mr. President. The city of Philadelphia has an unemployment rate of 10.6%, higher than any city just mentioned. It has one of the highest unemployment rates of any major city in the country. It has one of the highest business tax rates of any city in the country, and was one of only 5 cities that has a net income tax on businesses. Philadelphia
Today's vote on the paid sick leave bill pits the health of our citizens against the economic viability of their employment. This is a false choice. When Councilman Greenlee approached me last year about sponsoring the paid sick leave bill, I agreed because I strongly believe in the principles behind the bill. To my frustration and disappointment, the bill went nowhere at that time. Then came last year's budget. As we grappled with many issues facing our city, including the funding of our schools, the need for additional revenue was critical. Suggestions that were not even open for consideration in March were certainly options in late June. And as a result, increases in property taxes and the use of occupancy tax or UNO tax was implemented. When the conversation with the sponsor was revisited this year, I immediately told the sponsor that I thought this could be problematic for several reasons. Number one, less than 6 months before, we increased the UNO tax on businesses. Number two, now as a result of ABI, we are discussing new property assessments and the resulting tax bills. Many of the small businesses on my commercial quarters are seeing increases, some of which are quite significant. And number three, along with those new assessments and bills, businesses and special service districts pay even more. We must consider legislation and examine all of its moving parts within the legislative and political context in which it fits. We must consider the global impact of all factors, and such consideration is particularly important now on the eve of another budget season. As I mentioned, I strongly believe in the goals of this bill. Our citizens should be able to take sick leave without fear of not being able to pay their rent or buy their groceries or being terminated from their employment. But I also believe, and I have to say, that I think that this bill is poorly timed. I believe we can have paid sick leave. I believe that this bill can happen. But as I started out saying, I believe that to everything, there is a season and a time to every purpose. This bill's poor timing is of great concern.
Chair recognizes Councilman Saxon.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just like API, this is about fairness. Fairness happens in many different ways. Just in a couple of minutes, the mayor will come before us and present a budget and a 5-year plan. In that budget, there's $90 million in business tax cuts that my colleague Councilman Green and I instituted. Business cuts to make this city more friendly to business. The mayor will also talk about his reductions on wage, which is something else that the business community has asked for. This should not be about short-term losers. In fact, the ABI debate will demonstrate how businesses, particularly large businesses, will get millions in reductions while we ask our residents to pay millions more, all to get fairness. So this is not about short-term losers. This is about the long game. And the long game for Philadelphia means that the 180,000 low-wage workers deserve their sick leave.
Chair recognizes Councilman Good.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll be brief. Economic arguments against this bill presented by Councilman Green and Councilman Poe are simply false. And they're false because even as they cite reports, studies, and economists, they talk about the job loss that is projected to happen. Nowhere in any of those studies, analysis, does it talk about earned sick leave. What it talks about in those studies and analysis is a business tax structure as a reason for why people are leaving. There are other reasons why businesses and people have left the city. None of it had to do with earned sick leave. Those economic arguments are false. Furthermore, as disclosed in the hearing, the Commerce Department and members of the Chamber of Commerce who served on the Jobs Commission never brought this issue to the Jobs Commission. When they raised it even slightly, the question is, how do you know? The answer was, we don't really know what's going to lose jobs. We're just saying that we're afraid that it might lose jobs. So how do you examine whether you might lose jobs or not? You look at San Francisco, you look at Washington, D.C., you look at the state of Connecticut, you look at places where it's been implemented, and see what has happened there. Otherwise, you're talking about economic philosophy. Which if you want to be conservative, be conservative. But you say you're progressive, you say you're for working class people.
Thank you, Mr. President. I can't go back and forth on this, but I have to respond to a couple of things. And Councilman Good, I think, touched on it, a couple of them, so I'll try to be really brief. I think Councilwoman Bass is right. It shouldn't have to be a choice. And it doesn't have to be a choice. We shouldn't have to choose between jobs and giving fair benefits. What we're saying, and we think that the other cities have shown, that you can do both. And in the end, it actually is good for businesses. If you just take the time to look at the research and come in with some kind of open eye. And I also will say one thing, also about timing, and I think somebody else, another member might want to talk about it, that it said that this isn't the right time. Well, I would tend to agree. We should have done it a heck of a long time. Respect for the 6 new members, because there's a whole lot going on last year. I wanted to get the information out. I didn't want to push too much on them, and now I'm here and we should have done it earlier. Well, you know, can't please everybody. Again, I think if you look at the facts, if you look at other cities, and I refuse to say what other people seem to want to say, that we can't do what other cities can do. We're as good as these other cities. Why do we have to keep apologizing? Why does the Congress director have to keep apologizing and the chamber have to apologize? I'm not apologizing to anybody. And I'm proud of the workers of this city, whether they're unionized or not, because they're good people and they work hard and they deserve the right benefits. It's time to do the right thing.
Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll be brief. I really didn't want to speak on this bill, but I will. You got to know that I have Henry Nichols sitting right behind me. President. In this room can accuse me of not being friendly to business. I have been. I've funded more businesses in the city of Philadelphia than most. However, throughout the history of this nation, those that are of a fearful heart would have stopped us from ever passing a minimum wage law. They would have fought against child labor in the workplace. We would have never had Social Security. We would have never had job security for the armed forces, those who go away. Fighting for our freedoms, we would have never had their job secured. We cannot be afraid of pushing the needle in the right direction for humanity. We will be judged. The strongest of us, but what we do for the weakest. And I know this labor's hard on my colleagues because they're good people. But at the end of the day, we better do the right thing.
I will be very brief. I've been here a long time, and we passed legislation in this chamber addressing many community and issues in this city. I remember when we did the liquor by the drink, everybody was wondering Montgomery County, Bucks County, Delaware County, more about it, they didn't go to drink, they're still drinking in Philadelphia. When we did the smoking bill, everybody was going to go to Montgomery County, Delaware County, and so they could smoke in the restaurants. They didn't go. Matter of fact, the restaurants in those counties, most of them, passed an anti-smoking bill. So, you know, every time we have to deal with something that seems to hit one group against the other, it's doom and gloom, and the city's going to die. We have a wonderful city. All we have to do is work together. We have all forces together so that we make the city a great city where people want to come do business and work. And we do have a lot to offer, including good people who want to work and have a city leading good. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you very much. We are all going to vote our conscience. The issue is going to be whether or not we're going to create more jobs, we're going to lose more jobs, and
Time out. Everybody deserves the right to have a different opinion. So I just ask you, let them respect the statements, and then we're going to have a vote. Up with that. Please, vote. Councilman, please. Vote.
we have had witnesses come forward, and those witnesses have testified. The witnesses who testify as employees talk about the need for sick pay days, and they testify honestly. We have employers who testify, and they testify that with the sick pay bill now, that it will jeopardize employment and the future of jobs in the city. They are supported by the declining number of jobs in the city for low-wage jobs for people with less capabilities, and we need to have those jobs. So with that, I will be voting no. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. The city of San Francisco has an unemployment rate 3 or 4 points lower than ours. Their median income is $73,000 a year. Our median income is $37,000 a year. We are not comparable to San Francisco. They are growing their job base every year. We are shrinking our job base by 4,000 or 5,000 people every year. The same can be said of states like Connecticut in terms of similar comparisons. The point here, Mr. President, is very simple. We want to help our unemployed, the 10.6% of people who are registered as unemployed, or the over 20% of people who are unemployed. Then we need to create a regulatory environment that is good for business. I will be voting no on this bill, and I ask
Okay. There are no speeches. This time, this bill to be. Mr. Decker, we'll start over. Please read the title of the bill.
Bill 130004, entitled An Ordinance Enacting a New Chapter 93300, entitled Promoting Healthy Families and Workplaces, to provide that certain employees are entitled to paid leave.
Thank you. This bill having been voted on 2 separate days. Question is, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass. Councilwoman Blackwell. Councilman Good. Councilman Green. Councilman Greenlee. Councilman Heenan. Councilman Johnson. Councilman Jones. Councilman Kenny. Councilman